Hey, this is Jeremy Wallace, Microsoft Certified Azure Solutions Architect Expert and Senior Cloud Infrastructure Engineer for Safari Micro. Those of you that are familiar with me know that I have a huge passion for the Microsoft Cloud. And today I'm excited to share about Microsoft 365's advancement in AI. Many of you have been excited about the announcement of Copilot for Microsoft 365. And we're also severely disappointed when November came around and you found out that it was only available at the time for enterprise accounts that were on an enterprise agreement that had committed to 300 plus users. So for small and mid-sized businesses and organizations that weren't using an EA, man, that option to use Copilot was zero. And so there was a lot of frustration around that. But I am happy to announce that as of yesterday, so this video is recorded on January 16th, so as of January 15th, Microsoft's Copilot, so that's Copilot for Microsoft 365, is now available to all. And I went into our demo tenant earlier and purchased the Copilot for Microsoft 365, and you can purchase it for an individual. You can do it directly from Microsoft or through your CSP. So if you work with a CSP to buy all of your licensing, you can get it through them now as well. It is a 1 year commit, at least it was when I purchased it today, but you can do it for one individual instead of doing it for 300 plus users. So, with that said, I set up a demo environment. This demo environment is utilizing Microsoft 365 E5 licensing. However, that is not a requirement for Copilot for Microsoft 365. You can use Business Standard, Business Premium, E3, or E5. And again, that's the Microsoft 365 E3 or E5. So you can go down as low as Business Standard, and then Copilot is an additional license on top of that. So that's the two requirements there is your standard Business Premium E3 or E5 plus this additional Copilot add-on license. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and dive into this environment. We plugged into this demo environment. So for this purposes, I'm going to be a different user that already has data populated, so you can see how Copilot interacts with this information. So I am effectively Alex Wilbur for this video. I'll be using that account to drive that. That's where I have the Copilot for Microsoft 365 license assigned. So right off the back, I'm actually have Microsoft Teams open right now. So first of all, I'm logged into a virtual desktop here. I just set up this demo on this virtual desktop, but it's just a Windows 11 desktop, and I have the Microsoft 365 applications in. Yes, Copilot for Microsoft 365 works inside the desktop applications, not just in the browser-based web apps. So that's huge. In right there, there is some caveats there. You do need to have your Microsoft 365 apps on current channel updates. So if you're an organization that only updates Microsoft Office on a semi-annual basis for your Microsoft 365 apps, that will need to be changed to current channel and updated for you guys to utilize the Copilot for Microsoft 365 integrations into your desktop applications. So again, let's dive back in here. So in Microsoft Teams, I have access to the Microsoft 365 Copilot chat. So Microsoft 365 chat is very similar to interacting with Chat GPT or Bing Enterprise, which is now dubbed just Copilot on the web. So this is where I can actually interact with the AI in a chat conversation, and it is a natural language conversation that I can have. What that means is, whereas search engines like Google, you can have to put in keywords. You're like, oh, I want green chair, and then you're looking through all the results for the specific thing that you want. With AI, with Microsoft 365 chat, you can actually have an actual conversation, and it will help you look for data. It'll help you modify files. It interacts with a myriad of things that's inside your Microsoft 365 tenant. And so I I can ask Microsoft 365 chat here to maybe summarize a message. So that's what I'm going to do. These are some prompts up at the top here, just some suggestions on things that it can do to kind of help you get an idea. There is an art to talking with AI to get what you want, just like there is an art to Googling to find the results that you want. And so just having clear communication with the AI is what's going to yield you better results. So giving it context of where to look or who you're talking about in specifically or in what context, those are all things that help. Very similar to when you're having a conversation with a person. If you just randomly blurt out something to somebody and they don't know the context of what you're talking about, they're absolutely lost and have no idea what we're talking about. So you're going to get a random result. Same thing with the AI chat. You can have a natural language conversation with it, but unless you give it good communication, it may not be able to give you good results in return. So I'm going to ask it to catch up on messages. So I can just hit this prompt and it'll add it in here, but I could just type this out myself. Summarize team messages from, I'm going to say, from this month. So it's going to search my team's messages and give me a summarization there. Um, oh, in this case, oh, shoot. So in this case, I'm just going to ask the Microsoft 365 chat to give me some latest updates from a specific person. So I can hit a prompt in here, and it'll populate it down into the message down here. So I'm going to ask, "What's the latest from?" And I'm going to select a person. I've been talking with Megan. I'm about to talk to Megan. I want to kind of get up on what's the latest emails that I have from her, chat files, etc. So if I enter that prompt in here, and ask that of Copilot, it's going to search through my information that's on Microsoft 365 and provide me. So it says, here's the latest from Megan Bowen, organized by emails, chats, and files. So last Friday, Megan Bowen sent you an email about internal resume submission for a sales associate position. She thanked you for applying and mentioned that your resume meets the experience qualifications they're seeking. She also mentioned that they would like you to schedule a 30-minute conversation between you and one of their sales managers. And you can see after this results, this little one, this is a reference bubble here. If you did click on this, it'll pull up that specific email. I just have to make sure that I'm signed in here. It'll pull up that specific email that it's referencing there. So if that did spike your interest, you're like, oh, I don't remember that, and then you can pull it up and take a look at it yourself. Then it also mentioned into your files last Friday, Megan Bone modified a file presentation in hybrid working world. The files about bringing collaboration forward and a new normal new normal of remote work, and it provides a reference for that same thing. I can click on this and it'll open up what it's referencing there exactly. The reason why it mentions these, one is um, these are files that Megan has modified, but two, also they're in locations that I have access to. So that's why it felt it can notify me about them. They are relevant to me in the fact that they are in a place that is open to the organization, that's open to myself. So it mentioned that I might be interested in these. However, that does kind of allude to potential security issues if you do not have your documents and your files in places that are securely sound. So, for instance, what if Megan had instead been using or writing a file with sensitive information in it and had accidentally saved it in a location that was not secure? And all of a sudden, Copilot told me about that information. It's in a place that I have access to, so it thought I might be interested in that information. Now, all of a sudden, Copilot has helped me look into sensitive information that wasn't necessarily for me and that I may not have necessarily been aware of had it not bin for Copilot, and now it's giving me a link directly into it. So there is a strong warning when using Copilot for Microsoft 365. You do need to have your information, one, organized and structured well. And I'm going to be producing some more videos about Copilot readiness, and that's something that Safari Micro really wants to help our organizations in doing is preparing their environments for AI. But two, making sure that your security measures are in place. It is super, super important that you have your Microsoft 365 security on par when you introduce AI into it, because all of a sudden you're giving AI access to information throughout your tenant, and you're giving users access to that AI that has access to that information. And so you want to make sure that it's locked down, because if if it was a file on sensitive information and it was saved in a location that I didn't have access to, Copilot would not have mentioned that file to me. So it would have been safe. And it's fine for people to work on sensitive information as long as they're locked down properly, as long as that those documents are tagged as containing sensitive information. So there is protocol to help, and Copilot will abide by those things, but they have to be in place for it to abide by it. Again, I can ask follow up questions here. If I wanted to ask them, tell me more about the internal resume submission position. Those are prompts that Copilot suggested just based on the conversation that we had. So now Copilot's going to go try to find that information and tell me about it. But I could really ask anything that I wanted in here. This is generative AI, so if I needed help on something, if I needed to come up with a list of ideas, and there are some more appropriate places, and like Loop and OneNote that I'll show you here in a moment. I'm not going to wait on this here, but if I just asked, come up with a list of 5 ideas for lunch with the associates this evening, or so here are 5 ideas for lunch with associates. Again, I said evening, so I probably should have said afternoon, but it gave me 5 generative ideas: have a picnic, visit a local food market, organize a potluck, go to a restaurant. So it can just come up with content, not just search for content. That's the whole thing about generative AI, is that it can have an intelligent conversation with you and actually generate information that is not just contained somewhere like a Google search would. All right. So now that we've looked at M365 chat, I want to jump into some of the actual applications themselves. Let's start with Outlook. Of course, email is a primary form of communications for many organizations these days. And so I want to take a closer look here at how Copilot affects your work with email. We can see that this test user that I'm working with here, this demo user, has emails in here. I'm going to go down to Megan's email here. She sent me a spreadsheet. Please see the attached spreadsheet for recording customer data on Project 9. I'm going to respond. We can see there's a bunch of people on this email. And up here at the top, of course, this is the new Outlook experience. Again, there's updates that need to happen to use inside your desktop applications that are actually on your computer. But I have the option to draft with Copilot. So if I want to draft a response to Megan, say, maybe I'm not good at email communication, maybe I just need to save time, then I can just tell Copilot, this is what I want to say. Thank Megan for sending the file, and ask how she's enjoying her new position. Then I can hit generate. So it's going to draft an email. So thank you for sending the customer data for Project 9. Megan, how are you enjoying your new position so far? Best regards, Alex Wilbur. Now, if I want to add additional things to this message, you can say, please make the email message more personal. and I'm going to send that prompt in. So it's going to try to adjust its generated idea based on the guidelines that I give it. So now it says, "Hi, Megan. I appreciate your prompt response and customer data you sent for Project 9. It will help us a lot with our analysis and presentation. How are you finding your new role as mod administrator? I hope you are settling in well and enjoying the challenges and opportunities. You're doing a great job, and I'm glad to have you on the team." So now, just with those few guidelines, a much more warm email, more robust. Sometimes that's appropriate, sometimes it's not. But the point is, Copilot can help you craft that email when you necessarily don't have time to craft it yourself, or maybe you're not as great with email communication or communication in general. And so Copilot can help you in that. So if I like it, I can keep it. Another feature in here from Copilot is coaching by Copilot. And again, this goes along the lines of maybe I'm not a great communicator. And so this can actually give me some insights on my emails. Even those of us that are great email communicators, this is very handy information because sometimes we like to have other people. I'll write a long email and I'm like, man, I wish someone else could look over this and make sure that this is coming off correct and things. So coaching by Copilot will analyze the email that you've generated and give you feedback. Could be more enthusiastic. This email has a polite and professional tone, but it could also convey more excitement and appreciation for the recipient's work and achievements. And then suggestions, instead of "I appreciate your prompt response," the email could say, "Thank you for your prompt and helpful response," or "I'm very grateful for your quick and informative response." So it gives you some feedback, some critique. Uh, Reader sentiment, try adding more compliments. The email acknowledges the recipient's role and performance, but it could also include more specific and sincere compliments, boost their confidence and motivation. Some suggestions: clarity. The email does not provide enough details or context for the purpose and the scope of the project. It also does not specify what kind of support or questions the recipient might have. So suggestions there. When I was testing this earlier, another one was like, "Oh, this email is a little too personal or relaxed. It may come off unprofessional," and so it suggested a more professional tone. And so that's very helpful. So maybe you're communicating with your boss higher up, or maybe you're communicating with the CEO of another company, and maybe you did take too much of a personal tone. You need to kind of come back and be a little more professional with that. And Copilot can help analyze and see if that's the case and make suggestions. So very helpful. Great value add in the email world when you're generating communication and sending that out to make sure that you're communicating effectively and quickly. Um, Now, I'll do a more comprehensive review of each of these applications in future videos, but I just want to kind of briefly dive through these applications. So next, I'm going to take a look at Microsoft Word. What does Microsoft Word have for us? So Copilot is built into the ribbon bar here, and so I do have access to that same type of Copilot chat directly in Word. Um, it greets me here. First time I'm opening up here. So if I needed to help me write a document, I can write about using Microsoft 365 for increased performance and communication in the workplace. So I've asked it right about using Microsoft 365 for increased performance and communication in the workplace. Um, I was accidentally signed into the wrong account here. So you do need to be signed in with a licensed user for Copilot for this to actually work. And so that's why I ran into something went wrong earlier. But I switched over to my licensed user, and now it's generating that information for me. And so we should see an output from Copilot here. So in Word here, I'm going to actually draft something with Copilot in here. So I'm going to give it a prompt, write about using Microsoft 365 for increased performance and communication in the workplace. I'm going to have it generate. And so let's see what it produces for us here. So it's pulling things together. All right, now we can see it generating information directly into my Word document here. So As you can see, it gives you quite a bit of information that it's pulling and creating and searching from knowledge base. So now I can use this as a template to start from when writing this, and expand upon it, continue to discuss with Copilot. You can see at the bottom here that that kind of same thing. Do I want to fine tune it? Is there notes and critiques that I want? Um, uh, a paragraph on using OneDrive. So I can continue to work with Copilot throughout the documentation process, and it'll continue to help add additional information and critiques to the draft that it creates. So as I continue to work on the document, I can even go down and add to a line. I can continue to interact with Copilot here. I could even reference a file. It even has an inspire me button, so I can just continue to. It'll look at the context of my document so far, and it'll add additional information that it thinks fits into the document based on what it's saying. And again, I can continue working with that repeatedly until I get a document that I want. And I could have it regenerate this, I can delete it, modify it, whatever I want. But you can see the value in how it can quickly help you produce some documentation, or reports, or whatever it is that you need to do inside Word. Moving on over to um, PowerPoint. All right, so I'm in PowerPoint here, and say I need to create a presentation. So I do have access to Copilot up here. Say I have a report that I've already created. In fact, this test user already does have some reports, so I can take a look at here. This Contoso Next Gen camera product. So if I open this up in Word, I can see I have this document that's already compiled. Great information that's inside it. But instead of just going in a meeting and sharing this particular document, it'd be nice to have that in a presentation format. And Copilot can help you do that. So I want to create a presentation. So let's see, create a presentation from a file. And so if I reference that Contoso Next Gen camera product uh, document that I just had open, it's drafting a presentation, it's finding the information that's in the document, and going through that. It'll even generate the user notes, or I mean the speaker notes on each of the slides, to grab graphics and produce actual slides with graphics and the information, and the speaker notes. So now it's adding that speaker notes, double checking everything, and then boom, my presentation. So you can see in here the presentation, all the slides. It's created 14 slides here, and it has all the information that is from this document. Same graphics. So I can now repurpose my report for a presentation without having to do all that manual labor, hard work myself, and generating those graphics. And then even if we look at the speaker notes here, you can see that each of these slides actually has speaker notes for it. So you can actually go through slide by slide, and it already gives you some talking points on it. Again, you never just want to go generate content and dive off of what it uses. You always want to look it over, and you usually want to modify the content that it gives you, but it can save you a ton of time in generating those presentations. Again, just right before your eyes, over a one line prompt and linking it to a file, it was able to generate this. So huge power in that. In being able to do things like that in PowerPoint. Um, on OneNote side, if you're an avid OneNote user, and say you're taking a bunch of sloppy notes in there, you can use a Copilot integration in there to do things like, hey, I want to summarize these notes. So let's say summarize these notes. It's going to look over the notes that is on this page and create a summary. So very handy. I've been in a lot of meetings where I've taken a lot of notes, and then man, it's just a lot of information that I kind of threw up all over the page. And so sometimes it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And so I need help summarizing that. And so now you can see here that Copilot was able to do that. According to this current section, these notes are from an Azure infrastructure webinar that took place on, and then it gave me a summary of the notes that I had on this page. So helpful there. But there are other things that you can do. Down here, there's a prompt book that can help you with ideas of what to ask Copilot. So I want to draft a plan, give me ideas. I want to understand something, give me a list of pros and cons, a to-do list, help me form an argument, ask who are, and then my points of contact for Composer Project, find my completed research projects and list them. So lots of prompts that you can work with inside OneNote. And very similarly, you can work inside Loop. So Loop is almost like a newer version of OneNote to me. There's a lot of things that you can do, including make Loop components, which is like a embedded note that is updated wherever you put it. So you could paste it in a chat, you can paste it in an email, and then whenever you edit it here, it also updates in all those locations. So it's like a real-time note that you have out there. So you can do work on lists collaboratively and different things like that. So Loop also has Copilot integration. So if I wanted to generate information, I can draft page content in here. Very similar to OneNote, I can be specific about uh, whether I want it to create certain notes. Oops, let's go back here. So if I wanted to um, draft page content and ask Copilot, hey, help me brainstorm, for instance. So that's just a quick prompt that it can do. It can create a draft based on brainstorming some ideas. Um, so I didn't really give it any guidelines, so it's just going to spit out whatever. But you can see how handy this can be. Here are some ideas that can help to increase team morale. So that was just quick information that it was able to generate without absolutely no guidelines. Um, so if I wanted to uh, draft an article about the benefits of working in technology industry, um, it's just like you saw it in Word. It's going to be able to generate all of that and put it together here. So very handy in this application as well. Um, More of the loop and idea creating and those planning stages. That's what I often see Loop really utilized for, is in that area. So having these prompts are huge. Blueprint a way to make a compelling argument in a PowerPoint deck. So if I enter that, it's creating a draft. All right, and then it outputs my blueprint here. Start with a clear and concise thesis statement. So it walks me through a blueprint for that PowerPoint deck. So again, I can talk with Copilot over here. Very handy. Interact with information, help me generate ideas, help you to complete your task faster, help you to get past writer's block. Massive value add that Microsoft 365 for Microsoft 365 that Copilot provides. Again, there's lots of dangers, there's lots of preparations that you need to make, and there's a lot more than what I've briefly shown that Copilot can do, and there's more videos to come to show all of that. So please stay tuned to the Safari Micro channel. You can follow me on LinkedIn for more cloud updates on the Azure and Microsoft 365 side. Jeremy Wallace, again, I'm the senior cloud infrastructure engineer for Safari Micro. So please follow me. Please follow and subscribe to the Safari Micro channel. All right.